This is our agenda for today. We're going to start with our land acknowledgement, and then we'll go into an Eli Lilly and Company info session, followed by a link workshop, and we'll talk about our upcoming events and close. So our land acknowledgement, the UC San Diego community holds great respect for the land and the original people of the area where our campus is located. The university is built on the unceded territory of the Kumeyaay Nation. Today, the Kumeyaay people continue to maintain our political sovereignty and cultural traditions as vital members of the San Diego community. We acknowledge their tremendous contributions to our region and thank them for their stewardship. Now, a little bit about Eli Lilly and Company. It was founded in 1876 and has headquarters in Indianapolis. They currently have over 35,000 employees and over 8,000 R&D employees, which are 23% of their total workforce. And, little fun fact, they made the world's first commercially available insulin to treat diabetes. All right, so please welcome Eli Lilly and Company. We're going to hear from them about their company.
Hey guys, my name is Richard. I'm part of the campus recruitment team for Eli Lilly and Company. That slide was actually a lot of information with Eli Lilly. That's actually what we usually introduce ourselves about. But next slide. Let me share my screen. Sorry. Do you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see
it. Awesome. So originally this presentation is about 40 to 50 slides. It's really long. I'm not the one who created this. It was one of my colleagues. But we all know that our attention span is not that long. So I did shorten this to like less than 15 slides. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Now, so is everyone familiar with Eli Lilly and Company? Or is this first time hearing about it? If you guys could just write in the comment section first time or you guys familiar with it, love to get a little understanding. Okay, awesome. So do you guys know the coffee factory Illy? Yes, no? So, okay, I see some yeses. So a lot of students do confuse us with the company Illy. We often have times when we interview students, they're like, oh yeah, you guys are the coffee factory. So please, we're not a coffee factory. We are a pharmaceutical company. Our logo and the color scheme is very similar, but we are a pharmaceutical company. So I'll just get started now. So our core value, this is our mission. Lilly unites caring with discovery to create medicine that make life better for people around the world. And this is really important, especially what is 2022, right? And these days when students are looking for a career or job, how important is a mission to you guys? If it's important, say yes. If it's not important, say no. In the comment section. Or silence is good too. And the reason I'm asking, hey, how important is the mission to you guys is that, if I asked this question 10, 15 years ago, most students would say, I care more about the company brand than the actual mission, right? If you go back 10, 15 years ago, say, hey, you have an opportunity to work for a company like Facebook, Amazon, Google, would you take that in a heartbeat? I think most students 100% will say yes. I will say yes to that. I'll take that opportunity. But, especially in 2022, with a lot of the D&I initiatives going on, students are starting to rethink the idea of, hey, what's more important to me, the company brand or what I'm actually doing for my job? And this is truly important because we really try to create medicine that impact patient lives all around the world, knowing that whatever part of the company that you're joining within Lilly, that you're impacting a patient's life every day is truly really huge. I'm going to get more into that in the next slide. So Lilly was founded in 1876. You saw in the slide before that one of your colleagues created. Originally, we're the first company to commercialize and mass produce insulin. Seeing that all of you guys are STEM students, what is insulin used for? Do you guys know what especially used for? Yep. So it's used for type 1 or type 2 diabetes. Now, I'm assuming that every single one of you knows at least one person that has type 2 diabetes. Diabetes is one of the biggest like diseases in the world. And most patients, they don't die from diabetes. They die from the complications that diabetes lead to, which could be obesity, cardiovascular. It could be somewhere, the neural problems, cholesterol. So it's a lot of complications that diabetes leads to. So if you don't have access to insulin, it's a huge problem, right? For a lot of your type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes patients. The cool thing about Lilly is that we started as a diabetes company, but we really progressed into other classes of drugs as well. We do cardiovascular, we do neurodegeneration, we do neurology, we do COVID-19, which is our newest one, immunology, pain. So we do, have expanded into a lot of different areas, but at the core of our company, we are still a diabetes company. And how many of you have, family members or friends that have type 2 diabetes? If you guys have, just say yes. And most oftentimes, when you look at them or when you talk to them, you're not going to notice them actually like being sick or they look like, they're not doing well. Why? Because oftentimes type 2 diabetes is often called like a silent disease or a silent killer. Patients who are sick don't know they are sick because you don't know what's happening to you till you're at the end stage of your diabetes. So it's very important that patients with type 2 or type 2 diabetes get their medicine. And that's what Lilly really is expert at, providing the medicines to save patient lives. So we are headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana. It does say 34,000, but 35,000 is actually correct. I do need to update this. And now we are a global company. So we have headquarters all across the world. So let's say you do end up working for Eli Lilly with the United States, but you want to work internationally. That is an opportunity as well. Because you guys are all chemical engineering, right? You have opportunity to work in our research side or our engineering side or our manufacturing side. So there's really different opportunities as a chemical engineer student. So this is our footprint within USA. Now, San Diego, the purple one all the way on the left, that is our biotech center, and that's where a lot of research is done. That's not really meant for, I guess, chemical engineer students, but there is opportunities there because there's some engineering. Most of our engineering is done within our corporate center, which is the 3 dots you see in the middle. That's a Lilly corporate center within Indianapolis, Indiana. Branchburg, the one you see on the right, top right, that is our biggest manufacturing site, one of the biggest ones. So there's an opportunity for you to work there in the future if you have interest. That is close to New York City as well. So if you guys like, Manhattan, that's an opportunity. Another opportunity is in Boston, Cambridge. That is one of our innovation centers. And if you're more interested on the research side, that's an opportunity where you could work. And our newest, center is the Research Triangle Park, the one in orange. That is a huge center that's being built right now. So that's also a new opportunity if you're interested in manufacturing or engineering. So, like I said, this is different areas that we're focused on: immunology, oncology, pain, diabetes, neurodegeneration. But at the core, we're still a diabetes company. We'll always be known as a diabetes company. Actually, we're the only company in the pharmaceutical industry that has a diabetes drug from the start phase to the end phase of a patient with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. So employee resource groups at Lilly. Have you guys heard of ERGs before, employee resource groups? Either just say a yes or a no, just if you guys are familiar with what this is. So employee resource groups are very similar to college clubs, basically. They're your college student organizations. Every company out there has some sort of college club called employee resource groups, right? They want to make sure that you feel at home. You could belong to a affinity group or an organization where that you have ties to. So some of them at our company is BEs for Black employees, Amica, that's like Central America, Middle Eastern. And then we have Chinese Culture Network, early career professionals, Japanese network, Pride, Women Initiatives, Latinx, Lilly Indian networks, Enable Us. So we really make sure that, hey, we do have an affinity group for everyone out there. Also, we're ranked actually really high in the DEI space. We're ranked number 3rd in the country in terms of DEI initiatives. Now, employee volunteering. So do you guys volunteer? Yes, no? It's not wrong if you don't volunteer. I don't really volunteer that much, but I want to see if you guys volunteer in general. Okay, cool. If you do enjoy volunteering, it's a cool fact that we hold the single largest volunteer day in the world out of all the companies. There's one day within the year, over thousands of Lilly employees all across the world, we all volunteer. You could be volunteering building homes. You could be traveling to Africa to help the communities, or you could be working on with students, right? Low income students. So there's different ways to volunteer, but I thought it was a cool fact that we have the single biggest volunteer day out of all the companies in the world. Now, this is probably what you guys are more interested in, the internship program, than actually Eli Lilly company, because most, I think, students, you forget all the info about the company anyway. So our internship programs are really targeted for undergraduates, and most of our undergraduate internship programs are held in the summer. Now, they're 12 to 16 weeks. They're highly competitive salaries, and you probably heard that term so much already that you're like, what does highly competitive salaries mean? Most companies, we can't really physically say what the number is. So that's basically our smokescreen of saying it's basically you get paid at a full-time employee rate, but just prorated. Now, you get projects that kind of have that you have interested in. We don't give you make-believe projects. You're not going to work on a project that, we give you because you're an intern. You're actually working on a real-life project that you're contributing to one of our actual research or manufacturing or engineering. So which is pretty cool. Housing is provided but it's subsidized, so it comes out of your paycheck. It's very cheap, like a few hundreds of dollars. You get personalized coaching and mentoring, making sure that, hey, you want to make sure that this is an industry that you really want to work in the future. Because the whole point of an internship is that, to get your feet wet, to make sure that it's something that you have interest in. We do a lot of social events and networking opportunities to make sure that, hey, you're having fun as well. Now, Medicine Innovation Hub. Okay, this is our fancy way of saying research and development. I don't know why we don't call it research and development. They call it Medicine Innovation Hub. Basically, it's a cocktail of different business organizations within our company. So some of them are the molecule discovery, development capabilities of RNA, peptides, delivery devices. And since you guys are chemical engineering students, most of your opportunities for the research side will be in the device and delivery. Are you guys familiar with insulin pens in general, or do you guys study that in school? Kind of. So you guys know that is an opportunity for you guys. Let me go to the next slide, actually. So delivery devices and connected solutions. I am not a scientist, but I'm just an HR person. But to give my best explanation, if you're interested in this space as a chemical engineering student in the internship, you're going to be working on designing an insulin pen or a diabetes pen, so that could be more efficient for the patient, that's easier to use in general. So that's an opportunity right there. But let's say, hey, you're not interested in the research side, you're more interested in the manufacturing or the engineering side, we do have opportunities there as well. So like I said, we do have opportunities in Branchburg, which is New Jersey, or North Carolina for the engineering side or manufacturing side. So there's opportunities for the process control automation, the plant project, or utilities. Are you guys familiar with what that is in terms of manufacturing? It's really a yes or no. That's fine. So it's really, I think it's actually cool that you guys don't know because there's a lot of different opportunities out there. Most oftentimes students don't know, but it's cool. Here, let me give you a few bullet points on what that is. So for example, process engineering or automation represents engineering on a cross-functional process team consisting of operations, engineering, quality, technical service. They perform routine data monitoring for equipment issues using trends and out of control points. They serve as a key member of project teams for technical and capital improvement projects and Six Sigma projects. They lead activities during plant shutdowns, including investigations. So that's an example of a process control automation. It might be more complicated right now to understand because I'm not an engineer, but if this is something you're interested in, I could definitely connect you with the right scientist or engineer who you can learn more about. For example, plant engineer, which is, they provide daily support and troubleshooting expertise for non-process utilities, building support systems. They support activities to identify correct site, facility security vulnerabilities. This is probably a little complicated, right? Yes, no, just want to have a better idea. Probably a little confusing, right? Yep. So let's say you guys are interested in engineering, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not doing the best explanation on this. Reach out to me. Let me connect you with the actual engineering scientists with our company. They'll be able to give a much better explanation on what you'll be able to do on the manufacturing or engineering side. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, I keep our presentation very short. Does anyone have any questions on our internship or about Lilly?
For anyone who has questions, feel free to either unmute to ask them or feel free to put them in chat. We will answer them either way.
Hi, yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about internships. Do you know if there's also positions for like newly graduating students?
So full-time you're looking for?
Yeah, full time.
Yes. Which side are you looking more into, the research side or the engineering or manufacturing side? Or it doesn't really matter for you?
I think more research, but both would still be interesting.
Okay. Pass me your resume, and then I'll pass along to one of our scientists to see if there's opportunities right now. So that's what I'll say. For any full-time students, just directly pass me your resume.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, I forgot to mention. So for any internships, they're mainly targeted for sophomores and juniors. For freshmen, there might be an opportunity, but you'll have to really convince the hiring managers that you're ready for an internship, I guess, because usually most employers, they prefer to give the opportunities to juniors or sophomores.
Kind of following off of Laura's question, what's the best way we can reach you?
So LinkedIn, it's actually, you're doing a LinkedIn presentation, but LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to students, to employers. So sometimes, you might ask for our email, right? And you might email us to just stay connected or to network with us. I'm not gonna lie, most campus recruiters, we connect with at least a minimum, probably 1,000 to 2,000 students a year, depending on how many students or schools you work with. So if I see your email, and it's just going to get pushed down and pushed down further and further. And sometimes I'm not just going to be able to respond. But on LinkedIn, it's more like a social chat. So I'm able to just respond to you right away. So I say LinkedIn is the best way. And plus, I know how you look like because of your picture. So I'm going to remember you more.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I'm sure we can find you on LinkedIn, so you might be getting a lot of requests after this meeting.
Oh yeah, I always do the one-on-ones with students. You guys wanted coffee chat anytime, so please feel free to add me. I do see questions. Can I answer them? Is that okay on the chat?
Yes, please. Would you like me to read them out? Let's see.
Yes, that'll be awesome.
Hannah asked, how did you find out about this company and start out at Eli Lilly?
Oh, cool. So I was originally in a pharmacy school. I dropped out of pharmacy because I learned that I hated retail pharmacy. It's so boring. All you do is just pass out medicine and there's no interactions. But at the same time, no, I want to stay in the healthcare or that kind of sector. So I graduated with a biology degree and I was looking for opportunities in the business sector. So I first started in pharmaceutical sales and then I moved to HR campus recruitment. But how did I found Lilly? It's through a networking event like this. I attended a networking event through a school and met a sales manager and just stayed connected with them for 2 years. And when I graduated, I found an opportunity and he was my reference. So, if you're a freshman or sophomore, or junior, or even a senior right now, networking will find you a job, not just posting for random jobs you find through the career website. And the reason I say this is most companies uses ATS. Are you guys familiar with ATS? So it's like an automated or automation tracking system where they automatically filter our resumes. So even when you apply to a company's job board, it's not even getting looked at by a recruiter. It gets looked at through a software. But if you know someone, an employer, they're going to skip that stage and directly go to the hiring manager. So that's why I say networking finds you jobs, not job posting or searching on Google or LinkedIn. So that's my answer for Hannah.
An awesome answer. All right, so we're going to ask, are there any part-time graduate opportunities over the summer, specifically more for pharm school students?
Yes. Can I ask, what year are you in your pharmacy right now, pharm school? Are you second year or third year?
I'm asking for a friend, and I believe she is a first year. I think, yes. I think she's a first year pharm school student right now.
Okay, awesome. We do actually for grad students, we do co-ops where there's opportunities either in the fall semester or summer or winter semester to do an internship. Have your friend reach out to me and I'll connect him or her to the right person.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Let's see, we have another question from Jeremiah. What would be some challenges undergrads would face in the internship positions?
What will be some challenges undergrads will face in the internship position? So I think the biggest challenge is, even though, let's say you might all become friends, at the same time, you're all competing for a full-time offer at the end. You're friends, but you're competition as well at the same time. And oftentimes I think students will hey, did you get a full-time offer? I didn't. You did. Why did you get one over me, right? And it's the fact that you have to go through that emotional friendship. Then you become friends, but at the end you stay as friends because one person got an internship offer, the other one didn't. But the biggest challenge I would say is that most interns for any company, I think this not only applies to Lilly, is that they do their job, but they don't network enough within the company. Like I said, networking will find you jobs, but at the same time, networking will get you promotions. You guys probably hear that often, right? I excel at my job. I do everything so well, but I didn't get the promotion, right? Because oftentimes the person who networked better will be promoted versus someone who did their job or excelled at their job. That's just how the reality is. I just want to be upfront with you guys. Students who network better during their internships usually leads to a more full-time offer. Why? Because they're going to know more senior managers. They're going to know more directors who could vouch for them. Oh yeah, this student connected with me. I think this student is awesome. He or she should definitely get a full-time offer. Does that make sense, Scott? Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. And in the chat, we have networking, yes, in all caps, which is absolutely true.
I'm going to be real with you guys. Networking is the biggest thing. That will find you a job. That will get you promotions. That will keep your job. That will do everything for you. Network is so important.
As a follow-up question to that, can you give us an example of what a chemical engineer might do in an internship at Eli Lilly?
Well, so I can't talk about the exact projects because the pharmaceutical industry, like I said, it's very FDA regulated. So I can't talk about actual projects, but the best I could say is you will work on a real life project. That's the best I could say. Sorry, we are very heavily FDA regulated.
No worries. I know we have some other like government people come in and talk, and they're just like, I can't tell you, but it has to do with chemistry.
Yep, exactly.
All right, we have another question. Are there business internship opportunities at Eli Lilly?
Yes, there is. So, Sophie, what major are you? Can I ask?
I'm a biochemistry major and entrepreneurship minor.
Okay, awesome. Are you like, what kind of business do you want to do? Is it marketing that you want to do? Is it sales that you want to do? Or is it like, I guess you can't really do finance because they will require a finance degree.
Yeah, I'm pretty open to anything. Maybe management or yeah, like sales or
Okay, are you a junior or sophomore or freshman right now or senior?
junior.
Junior? Okay. I think it's a little too late to apply for internship for sales because I'm going to be honest, most employers, their internship hiring happens during the fall semester, not during the spring semester. But there is definitely, I think when you're a senior, we could keep you in the loop and try to apply for a full-time sales opportunity. The cool thing about sales within Eli Lilly is that, you know, you're more like a consultant. You talk with healthcare providers like doctors, MPs, or PAs, and you consult them about why this medicine is going to save your patients' lives. People say it's, you know, we call it sales, but I call it more consulting because you're not hard selling. You're more likely soft selling where, you know, they find out after, you know, it's a doctor wrote your medicine or not through prescriptions. So it's more like a consulting term. But if you're interested in sales, you know, definitely stay in touch with me because let's say you do sales for 2 to 3 years and you will do something else, that is 100% doable. Lilly is very, very flexible when it comes to you know, different job promotions. From sales, you go to HR. From sales, you go to marketing. From sales, you go to operations. So as long as you have transferable skill sets, that's doable.
Thank you.
It's awesome. So we have another question. What is the work environment like at Eli Lilly?
So that's a fun question to ask. You know, depending on the industry, I think everyone has different work environment. You know, if we talk about the finance industry, I think a lot of students, we hear that it's very cutthroat, right? It's very strict. But at Eli Lilly, I like to say it's very family-like. Maybe it's because our company is located in Indianapolis. Maybe it's the hospitality of the Midwestern, but everyone's super, super sweet. There's a famous saying within Lilly that our CEO said, I think, he does not hire jerks, just hires good people, which is really true. At Lilly, you could connect with anyone at any time, and they're not going to say no. It could be a director level, it could be a senior director level, it could be a VP level. You know, CEO might be a little too far out, he might be a little too busy, but you know, everyone's very family-like. You get so much support throughout Lilly. People are gonna reach out to you, you know, asking, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing fine? To make sure that you're truly happy, right? Because your well-being at Lilly is probably the most important thing. And talking about well-being, we really care about your well-being. So in the summer, we have something called a summer shutdown. So the week of July 4th, you have the entire week off. And then the week of Christmas, you have the entire week off. So that's 2 weeks we give you off throughout the year, which does not include your PTO too, your paid time off. So after you add your PTO, your winter shutdown, your summer shutdown, you almost have like 30 days off a full year. So that's an entire month off. For example, I saved my days. I think last year I took off from December 7th to like January 6th this year. So I just didn't work for a full month and no one stopped me from doing that.
That sounds super cool. Let's see. Rachel says, that sounds amazing.
Yep.
All right, we have another question. Are there roles for operations/supply chain?
Yes, there is. Definitely connect with LinkedIn. I'll connect you with the right person if you're interested in operations supply chain. My question will be, are you a junior, sophomore, senior right now? Like,
yeah, I'm currently a junior.
junior? Awesome. Okay. I'm not sure if they're looking currently for summer internship right now because like I said in the beginning, usually most of our internships hiring happens in the fall. but still connect with me. Let me pass your resume along to see if there's opportunities.
Thank you.
Right. I don't see any new questions in chat. If anyone does have any final questions, feel free to put them in there. Other than that, do you have any, I guess, final words to say before we switch to the LinkedIn workshop?
Well, I guess my only question is, what do you guys want in a company? What do you guys want from a company?
We've never had a recruiter ask that question at one of these events.
And please don't say job.
All right, we have good mentoring, corporate social responsibility,
Mhm.
family environment, comfortable, stability. These are all really good things.
Yep. The reason I ask this question is that please think about what's important to you and not just look for the company's brand name. In the end, I think, getting a career is more important than a job. So you want to work for a company long-term because you really enjoy working there. You enjoy the people, enjoy the culture, everything about it just seems at home to you. So start thinking about what's important to you. And, as you keep continue to engage and connect with employers, ask them these questions, how's your company's stability? How's your company's culture? So you know that this is the right company to work for. And our company is very stable, very job stable. We rarely do layoffs. That I could guarantee. And usually, if you guys don't know, do you guys know the 2 or 3 industries are always recession proof? So it's healthcare, pharmaceutical, and alcohol. People always like their alcohol, but people will always need their healthcare and medicine. So that's usually recession proof. Just keep noted. And
That is good to note.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. If you want to move on to the LinkedIn workshop, that'll be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Let
I'm
me
going
stop
to.
presenting. How
Oh,
do I
yes.
stop presenting? Oh, stop sharing. See it.
Yes. All right. I know Zoom is rather complicated. We've been doing our school on Zoom for 2 years, so we're all far too accustomed to it at this point. All right. Can you all see my screen? Let's see. Anyone give me a thumbs up or thumbs down? Yes. Okay. Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and put it in slideshow version. All right. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Eleanor. I'm your industry chair. So if you ever have any resumes that you want reviewed, feel free to send them my way. And other than that, we do other professional workshops like LinkedIn, elevator pitches, and whatnot. So if you have any, professional development things that you want to cover, just let me know and I'll try to make it happen. So today we're talking about LinkedIn, and we're going to be asking Richard for some advice as he sees it from a recruiter's perspective. So here we're going to get started. Just to let you know, I got most of my slide information from this particular site here. So if you're interested, you're definitely welcome to go check that out. It had 20 steps. It says 17 steps, but it's really 20 steps in 2020, which I thought was cute. All right, so first things first, I did want to ask you all a question. What is the first thing that a recruiter is going to look at when they see your LinkedIn profile? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Your best guess. What's the first thing they're going to see? The picture. That's correct. Your friend request? Profile pic? Yes. Yes, so it is your profile picture. So you want to make sure that your profile picture is going to be something that you want people to see, and also that people are going to want to see, if that makes sense. So some general tips for how to make your profile picture as attractive to recruiters as possible is to make it recent, so that you look like yourself in your picture. Don't post something from when you were 5 years old or something. That's not very helpful. You also want to make sure it's professional, so don't wear I don't know, a jean jacket or something, unless you're going for an artsy route. You might want to do that, but I would recommend a nice shirt, maybe a blazer, something like that, and make sure your hair is nice, etc., etc. Lighting's good, that kind of thing. You also want your profile picture to be about 60% your face. You don't want it to be super close up, because that's not very fun to look at. It just feels kind of intrusive, and then you don't want it to be far away, because that's less engaging. And then you also want to be smiling or at least neutral. So you don't want to be frowning because, of course, who's going to want to hire you if they think you're just going to be, frowning all the time? It's not a fun person to work with. So make sure you're smiling so that you show that you are fantastic and a great person that everyone will want to work with. So there's another picture on LinkedIn, and that is your background photo. For the most part, when I look at people's background photos, I see just a couple of things, and we will talk about that in a second. But you want to make sure that your background photo, whatever it is going to be professional, as well as showing who you are and overall just making it memorable and attention grabbing. So for the showing who you are part, these are the two things that I mentioned. One thing that I've seen a lot is a place that's important to you. So I see a lot of, city skylines. I see a lot of, Geisel, things like that. Places that are important to you and are also professional looking. And then another thing that I've seen in people's LinkedIn background pictures is something that you care about. So I've seen people post Black Lives Matter or the LGBT flag, things like that. And that gives someone who's looking at your profile an idea of what you really care about besides just the work that you're doing. So if you post something like the LGBT flag, then they know that you're an ally for that, and that's something that you really care about, and that they can think about you differently based on that, hopefully in a positive way, because everyone should be supporting that community. And so if you post that, that just kind of lets them know what goes on in your mind, what you care about, and that can be important if that is really important too. So anyways, that's the background photo. Another thing to think about is your headline. So your headline is your job title, and then ideally also some other things about you. It doesn't have to be just your job title. So for students, you're going to want to have your major in your school. You're going to want to have any leadership positions that you're part of, and you're going to want to include any research or volunteering. Oops. So for, if you're in AIChE, you can talk about your leadership position in AIChE. If you are doing research with anyone, you can do that. And if you're working part-time, you can talk about that. Just kind of put everything in your headline, but in, not too many words. It fit as much as you can in there. I don't know exactly the character count, but yeah, just fit as much as you can in there. And then for everyone, it's nice to say something that's memorable about you, and it's okay to be a little poetic about it. So at some point I had in my headline the words inspired learner, because that's really how I see myself. I see myself as this student of life and this someone who likes to learn a lot. And that's something that I would want employers to see when they're looking at my profile, is that I really love learning. So you can say something like that, or you can say, strong leader, or something, I don't know, something along those lines that just tells the recruiters something a little bit more about you. And, it's just something kind of unique and kind of fun to look at. And I think that it's a little nice to be poetic. So that's your headline. Your summary is also important. So don't skip it. On that website that I was looking at where I got most of this information, they said that a surprisingly number of people do skip it, and they were very surprised by that because it's the easiest way to just kind of tell your story. So speaking of telling your story, you're going to want to say why you have the skills you have and why those skills matter. So don't just say, I can code in MATLAB and Python and I can work with Excel sheets really well. You want to say, I worked on all these great projects that involved MATLAB, and so I'm really good at MATLAB and these other skills as well, and I did this cool thing with it, etc. You just kind of want to give people a little idea of who you are, how you got to where you are, and where you're going. So that brings us to, what are your motivations? It's good to put your motivations in there. Are you inspired by, climate change? Do you want to solve that? Are you inspired by human rights? Do you want to work towards those? Whatever it is that you want to do with your career, it's good to put that in your summary, at least in general terms. And then you want to make sure that the first couple of lines are particularly engaging, because the summary will show up your lines, like the first couple of lines, and then it'll say like a button to show more. So if you make your first two lines particularly engaging, then someone is more likely to press on that button to show more and actually read it. But yeah, make sure the first two lines are particularly eye-catching. So then there's also this interesting thing on LinkedIn where you can list your skills, endorsements, and you can get recommendations. And I put these all together because they're kind of related, but also kind of not. I didn't want to put another slide. We know we like short presentations. So in short, you have skills, please list them. This helps your recruiters know kind of what what you can do and if you're right for a job. So it's nice for them to have a whole list of that. However, you don't want to go overboard. You don't want to list every single skill you ever had or have, because say you're applying for a job or you're wanting to apply for a job in process engineering and you say that you're really good with working with preschoolers. Fantastic, but probably not going to help you too much. So you want to stay relevant with your skills and make sure you don't just list everything, because if you list everything, then your process engineering skills might get lost inside the, preschool management or whatever you're doing. All right. You also know your friends' skills, so endorse them. Endorsements are where you go onto someone else's LinkedIn and you say, uh, you know, Sarah, you are really good at MATLAB. I'm gonna say that you're really good at MATLAB, and I know that because I've worked with you on MATLAB projects before. So when you do that, it just kind of verifies in some ways that you are actually good at this, that you are actually good at the skills that you say you have. So it's nice to get those endorsements and to give those endorsements as well. It's kind of a nice returning of the favor when you do that. And then recommendations are interesting. It's kind of like a mini letter of recommendations, like a paragraph or something like that. And you just kind of give those to people who you really feel you can give a good recommendation for. And if you ask for a recommendation, make sure you ask from people who you know can write well for you. So think about, who do you want to write about you? Who can you trust to give a good idea of who you are to the general internet? Because that's where this is really going, is the general internet, and specifically to recruiters. Another thing about LinkedIn is that it's ideal to stay at least a bit active. I must admit, I'm not very good at keeping up with this, but I will say please follow what I say and not what I do. So you want to follow interesting and relevant pages, because they're interesting and relevant to you and to your career, because they're going to post things that you will find interesting. And when you see something that is interesting, react and comment to them. Because when someone looks on your LinkedIn page, they can see your most recent activity, and that just kind of helps them know who you are and what you're interested in, and that's pretty cool. You also are going to want to post relevant content. So, if you did well in a class, you can say that. If you got an internship, post about that. If you got a job, fantastic, post about that. Let people know what you're doing. It's really cool, and that's really what LinkedIn is for, is like celebrating people's accomplishments and helping people get jobs. Keep it professional and keep it thoughtful, and use your posts to start conversations. So, I wouldn't recommend posting about, whatever boba you're drinking tonight. I'm so glad if you have that, but that's not something that you need to post on LinkedIn. Similar with thoughtfulness is that you want to be, not just surface level, but, really thinking about how this is going to play out over the course of conversations, over the course of time. Whatever you're posting, make sure it's professional, thoughtful, and ideally also starting some conversations about, what does this post mean to you, and how does it, do other things. So I don't know. I see a lot of posts about just various things that are going on at UCSD, about, new renovations in Geisel, for example. They might post about a new renovation and then ask people, what do you think we could do next to make this even better? So that's a really fun way to start a conversation. And then there's just a few miscellaneous tips that I would like to share with you all before we go into an example LinkedIn. I highly recommend connecting with people after events, career fairs, meetings, etc. So if you go to a career fair, write down the name of all the recruiters that you talk to and connect with them on LinkedIn immediately afterwards, and say, it was really great to meet you and hope we can stay in contact, and also bring up anything that you talked about, like, here's my resume, or here's, when I'm available, that kind of thing. Whatever they asked for, send it to them. Similar with other events like this workshop, connect with Richard after this workshop, and just say, hey, it was great to see you at this workshop. I really appreciated learning about Eli Lilly, and I'd love to learn more. Similar with even just meetings, if you go to a professional meeting, like an AIChE professional development of any sort, you can say, to anyone who was in the participants list, you can just go down the list and be like, I saw you here, I saw you there, and I would love to connect with you. You don't have to write a note if you don't want to. It's pretty nice if you're talking to a recruiter, but it's not required for, say, a friend. Speaking of friends, you're going to want to connect with all of your friends, all of your classmates, professors if you feel comfortable with that. Just anyone that you want to connect with them, because it's nice to have more connections. It just shows that you know, you're active on LinkedIn and you're thinking about your career and things like that. The caveat with that is that you want to be careful if you connect with complete strangers. I personally have had some experiences where I connected with complete strangers and it got really weird really fast and I had to block them. So just be careful with that. So LinkedIn is still a social media site, so just be careful with who you talk to. You don't have to be afraid to reach out to people out of the blue. So say, for example, you want to work at Eli Lilly and you look around on LinkedIn and you see someone who has a job that's really similar to something that you would want. Don't be afraid to reach out to them and say, you know, hey, I'm really interested in your company. I'm really interested in the work that you're doing specifically. Would you be willing to chat for a bit, or would you be willing to have like a video call, just like 15 minutes? And that is the other thing, is you want to be respectful of people's time. So people are busy. So if you do ask for someone to respond to you on LinkedIn, make sure it's a reasonable request. It's really fast. If you ask for their time, make sure it's no more than maybe half an hour at the max. I'd say 15 or 10 minutes is even better. So yeah, be respectful of time if you do reach out to people, especially if you don't know them. Another thing that I really like is on LinkedIn, you can personalize your URL. And this I have found very useful, because instead of it being, you know, linkedin.com/, you know, 897857711 or whatever, it's my name. So it's linkedin.com/equark, which is just a lot easier and it looks nicer. So especially if you're putting this on your resume, it's nice to have that personalized URL. So with that said, I want to ask if anyone has any questions at this point, and then we're going to go into an example LinkedIn, which is just mine. And I also wanted to ask Richard if you had any input on anything that I just said, anything in particular that you look for when you're on LinkedIn.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, I don't do 50% or more of what you suggested. They're all great tips, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't do more than 50% of that. And so in a recruiter standpoint, the point of LinkedIn is I see it, you know, a few ways. One, like I said before, you know, it's a great way to stay connected with people over email. Email is a terrible, terrible way. Your email will get lost. But LinkedIn, your message will always be there and your picture will always be there. Second, you know, LinkedIn is a representation, is a way to know that you're real, right? And the reason I say that is there's often times when people apply for jobs and we just want to know what that person looks like, really, right? And if they don't have a LinkedIn, we're like, why don't they have a LinkedIn, right? Especially in 2022, if you don't have a LinkedIn right now, it's kind of a little weird. But at the same time, please be careful with LinkedIn on what you post. Like I think you share that don't post random things, like please don't post random things, because whatever you post will always stay there. But the third I like to say is if you guys have other social medias, please make it private. Depending on who the recruiter is, you know, sometimes some recruiters might be a little too nosy. They might start looking, oh, does this person have TikTok? Does this person have Instagram? Because you know, we might type in your name for Google, but your TikTok or link or I don't know, Instagram or Snapchat might might show up on Google, right? So do you want them to see it? Even maybe, maybe not, but to be on the safe side, if you have other social medias, please make it private. That's just to protect yourselves. And one thing I like to see on LinkedIn is that if you connect with someone, please stay connected. After you add friends with them and you think that's not the end of LinkedIn, just message any employer, any recruiter that you connected with at least once a school semester, like once a semester or once every 3, 4, 5 months. That's so that, hey, we know that you still exist, right? And you still want to work for X company. Like let's say you connected with that employer freshman year or sophomore year, and then you start then you reach out to them again 2, 3 years later. That's a lost connection already. 2, 3 years later, you should have contact with them at least like every few months. And what most times I think students like, hey, what do I tell the recruiter? Just tell them, I just want to stay connected with you. How are you doing? That's all you have to say. That's usually enough. So that's my input for LinkedIn.
see, we have a question in chat. It's so hard to figure out what to write in the summary/bio. What's the best way to start and stand out? Do you have any advice on that?
So do I personally have a summary? No, most professionals, you don't need a summary because your job and your experience are going to explain themselves. But for students, I think summary and bio is very important actually. And I like when I read summary and bios, what I like to see is a little personal touch of yourself, right? Everyone has a different way of writing. And if you write so much on like, hey, what you do in school, what experience you have, that's a little boring because we could find that out on your resume, like what your previous experiences are. You know, write about what your passion is, you know, what you want to do in the next 5-10 years, what you care about. So if you're like, hey, my goal is to work for in this industry in 5-10 years, you know, I have a lot of passion of helping or ending global warming, blah, 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 stuff like that. That's pretty cool to learn about. But don't write anything too excessive. That's like kind of inappropriate. Sometimes I read summary about where a student says, oh, I love to go, I don't know, like go camping and with my friends and do this. And we like to cook fish and we like to, it's like a little too personal at that time, right? So just have a personal like touch, but don't keep it too personal. Hope that helps somewhat.
I found that helpful, so hopefully that was good. We have another question. How important are personal/custom notes when connecting with people?
Okay, so when you're connecting with people, please don't say, hey, because of job X, I'm connecting with you. Don't ever say that. That's a red flag. The way you connect with people, with employers is like, I want to learn more about your company, your culture, and what you do. Don't ever say, because I apply to job X, I would love to connect with you, right? When you're connecting someone because of a business reason, it becomes less personal. You want to connect with them because you really care about what they do and the company. So that's very important. So just, you know, in your personal note, you can keep it simple. I love to learn more about what you do, why you stay in this company, about your company culture. That's all you have to say. And I'm going to be honest, not every employer out there is going to like be willing to connect because sometimes they're too busy. If you don't see a follow through from them, just send a second note. And if you don't see a response from the second note, just look for a different person. You know, your time is valuable as well. Just don't put all your eggs on hoping this one person is going to respond to you.
I'm curious, do you have time to respond to everyone who messages you on LinkedIn? Because I know I personally would have trouble like keeping track of everyone and like making the time for it. So how do you make the time for that as a recruiter who has like so many people talking to them?
So I think I think every campus recruiter is different. And you find out that, hey, if this person is, you know, messaging or replying back to you, that employer, usually that speaks about the company's culture. It's like maybe that company culture is really nice, right? I think oftentimes there's a lot of employers out there that don't respond. They just ignore your message after seeing it. And for me, that's a red flag. If the whole job of a campus recruiter is to keep engagement with students. If that campus recruiter totally ignores you, then that speaks about the company's culture in another way. So I say red flag. If they ignore you, that's a red flag right there in terms of company culture. I spend about an hour a day, at least responding to every student possible. Sometimes I might respond 2 days late, but I try to respond to every student. I probably respond to at least 50 to 70 students a day, but that's my job. That's our job. So we should be doing that.
That is a lot of conversations. Wow.
Yeah, that's why I said email is a terrible way because email, I'm just going to lose your email, but LinkedIn is more like a Facebook Messenger chat. It's really very simple.
Wow. Do we have any other questions? Chat unmute. If not, I'm going to switch over to my LinkedIn. We're just going to do a critical analysis of it. I did not edit it last night when I was making these slides, so it will be a bit rough, and I'm going to ask you guys where that is.
If anything, just have a LinkedIn. That's all I care about. Just having a LinkedIn is more important than decorating everything. Just having a LinkedIn will get you very far.
That's awesome. That's actually really good to know too, because I was a little afraid that mine wasn't tricked out enough. I don't know. All right. So this is my LinkedIn. I believe y'all can see this. Yes, thumbs up. Maybe. Okay, fantastic. All right, so just starting at the top. What's wrong about this picture? For anyone who knows me, it's not recent. I cut my hair recently, and so this is too long. It's not too big of a deal because it still looks like me. It's only a few years old, but if you do make a significant change about your appearance, you're gonna want to update your picture. Speaking of the background stuff, this is a bridge in Portland. I'm from Portland, and this is one of my favorite bridges, so that's what I put for my background. I put an important place to me. And then my headline, Campus Ambassador for Thermo Fisher Scientific, Industry Chair at AIChE, Chemical Engineering Student and Researcher at UC San Diego. So that's a really long title, but it gets you an idea of everything that I'm doing here, everything I'm doing right now. And I thought that was important to include. You can see that I have a bunch of connections, and anyone can see that number. It's a little weird that everyone can see that number, I think, but it's just the way that LinkedIn works, so it's interesting.
That number is actually kind of important.
Is it really?
So if you think about it this way, does first impression matter? Okay, let's say you're going on a date, right? A guy or a girl. Do you care about first impression? Yes. And that number sometimes to certain recruiters might think, oh, this person is social. This person is able to make relationships, talk with others, network with others, right? So the more connections you have, depending on what recruiter looks at it, they might think differently. If you only have like 10 connections, you're like, why does this person only have 10 connections? Is this person not able to make relationships? Is this person bad at team building, stuff like that? Recruiters are trained to not have unconscious bias, but you can't avoid unconscious bias. So if you can add more people, if you have more connections, do it. It just will help you.
That's awesome. And yeah, that's why everyone should add all of their friends. In fact, I would recommend for everyone to look at the participants window right now and just to keep a note of everyone there. Just look them up on LinkedIn. Do it right now while I'm talking. I won't mind. All right, so let's scroll down. I guess that you can add your license certification. That's something that's kind of cool. It kind of like verifies your skills. I haven't done that personally. Let's see some analytics here. It's kind of cool to see how many people have viewed your profile, especially if you are on the job hunt. It's kind of cool to see like how many people are looking at you. This is my about. Again, there is something wrong here. I haven't updated it. I am now 4 years into my chemical engineering major. But yeah, it's nice to just write a little bit about what you're doing. Mine is pretty general, but it just kind of talks about everything that I'm up to, and there happens to be kind of a lot of things, so just like one sentence per topic. Then it gives your activity, and these are my most recent posts. They are related to my job as the Thermo Fisher ambassador, and I haven't posted since then. So I don't post very often, but ideally you would post maybe once a month, maybe something like that. Just whenever something reasonable happens to pop up. Let's see.
One thing on LinkedIn is like another language. I'm not sure if you guys use LinkedIn that much, but people who are good at LinkedIn, the way they write their message, it's really like unbelievable the way they write it. But if you're able to write like that and post stuff and get a lot of traction, that looks good too.
Do you look at people's activity when you look at LinkedIn pages?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care about anything up there. I just go straight to, does this person have a picture and what is his or her experience? And the reason I do that is because depending on who the recruiter is, especially for campus recruitment, a lot of campus recruitment, I don't want to get any unconscious bias about you. I really don't. I want to know who you are from our one-on-ones through our coffee chats. So usually I look at LinkedIn after I talk to that student if possible. Or like, for example, do you guys have your GPAs on your resumes? Just want to say yes or no on comments. Okay, awesome. And do you guys think having GPAs on your resume is a way to show that you're good at school? You know, you excel, or you are a good worker, or you study well? Do you think it translates or correlates into that? Awesome. Now, my next question is that, let's say you have a low GPA. Does that correlate to you not being a, potential good worker in the future? Hey, my GPA sucked too, don't worry. The reason I'm asking that is because, if you don't want to write your GPA on your resume, you don't have to, because a lot of companies out there these days, they don't ask for GPA, and for a good reason, because GPAs don't correlate to you being a good worker. Does having a high GPA means you will do good at your job? Maybe, because you study well. But what if those people who don't have good GPAs, they might have numerous reasons why, because they might have a part-time job, or they're going through some family stuff. They might be going through some emotional stuff. We don't know what the situation is, right? So oftentimes, this applies to campus recruiters. We try not to look at your resume at first glance too much. We try to connect with you on a personal level, then look at your resume. And that's what I was saying. Don't try to, your first impression matters. So your experience, right? What you write in there is the most important thing, if anything. If you could focus on anything, focus on the experience part, because that's the first impression part. But, if you have a bad GPA, please don't write it. If you have a good GPA, you want to write it, same thing, you could do that too. But if a company asks for your GPA and it's bad, and you're you don't want to share it, ask them why you're asking for a GPA. You could actually directly ask them why you're asking for a GPA, because no companies these days should be asking for your GPA. It's the same thing as no companies are allowed to ask you directly, are you COVID-19 vaccinated? It's like a thing where that's personal. Your GPA is a personal thing to you, which it's not going to correlate to you being able to do a good job or not. Kind of ran on, but hopefully that helps a little.
I think it's useful because if your GPA isn't that great, just don't put it on your resume. If you're proud of it, put it on there. But I think it's great that companies can't or shouldn't be asking for your GPA, because it doesn't correlate. So that's awesome.
On the job application, if they don't ask for your GPA, then during any part of the interview, they cannot ask for your GPA. Just know that. Not even the hiring managers can ask for your GPA. That's an HR violation right there. Just know that for yourself.
I didn't know that. That's good to know. All right, I'm just gonna speed through the rest of my LinkedIn so y'all get an idea of what each section looks like. This is my experience section. There are some problems because, say for example, this internship ended, but I still have things in present tense. Make sure that your tenses match whatever tense that you're working in at the moment. Similar deal with this. I say that I'm still in this position, or actually I am in that position. Just kidding. I know all what I'm doing. But make sure that your tenses match what you're doing in terms of present or past tense. Actually, question for you, Richard. Do you prefer bullet points or more, I guess, what's it called? Paragraph-like? It doesn't make a difference to you?
It doesn't make a difference, honestly. It's all the same. The same thing for resumes. There's so many different versions of resumes you could have these days. Some students have 1 page, some students have 2 pages. Some use different formats. I personally don't care as long as the resume looks good. But if you get a strict recruiter and you will be on the safe side, just use bullet points. Bullet points will always be your safest bet.
Awesome. Bullet points it is then. This one's going to change right after this meeting. All right, so you can see it only shows some of your positions, not all of them. So you want to, show your most recent ones, and then if they want to see other positions, they can click on that Show More button. I don't know why it reloaded the entire page. That's kind of awkward. Just all the positions, good things like that, etc., etc. And then I guess it sent you to a different page. That's curious. I actually didn't know that it did that. Good to know. We're gonna try to go backwards here. Oops. I didn't know we would be doing So much back and forth, but here we go. Okay, so the next part after your experience is your education. Obviously put UC San Diego, and then you can talk about, I don't know what this grade first is. Apparently I did this when I was a first year. You can talk about all the activities that you're part of, and that's kind of cool. You can talk about your volunteering experience in a different section from your experience. This is something I've actually considered, is if I should be putting AIChE into experience or into volunteering, because I'm not getting paid for this. It's kind of a judgment call on your part based on like what you want the recruiters to see. Richard, if you have any input on that?
It's experience. Anything you do during school, it just put out the experience, because it's all transferable skill sets that you guys learn.
Okay, that's good to know. It's always been something I've been curious about, which section I should put it into.
For me, volunteering is more like you going to an animal shelter or you going to a nursing home, stuff like that. So if it's not on that side, just put it as an experience.
It was something that you spend a lot of time on, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. That's good to know. Thank you. All right, so then the next section is skills. You can see I have, you can highlight up to 3 skills to kind of be here, and then the rest are kind of hidden under this see all. And you can see that I have some endorsements based from some people who know me pretty well. I have 7 endorsements here, 5 and 3. You can also take a skills quiz. I've never done that, but I guess that's something you could do. And then next section is recommendations. We talked about this briefly. I have not received any recommendations, but I have given one. This is a graduate student I worked with, and I talked about how she helped me grow as a student and what we did together. And she got a job at Illumina, so hopefully that was helpful. Anyways, so that's recommendations. Let's see, the MATLAB skills quiz was hard. Oh dear. Let's see. Yeah, anyways, so yeah, that's recommendations. If you have someone that you know can speak to you well, I would recommend asking for a recommendation if you think it would boost your LinkedIn, but it's also not super important if you don't think it is. You have a publications section that can be papers, that can be books that you write if you're into writing books. Anything that counts as a publication you can put in here, and that's super awesome. You can also list your courses. I don't remember if you can highlight these 3 or if it just chooses them for you. But yeah, every quarter, once in a while, just go in there and update the courses that you've taken. It's kind of cool. You can talk about honors and awards that you get, and that's also pretty fun. You just make sure you write a good description for them so that people who have no idea what this scholarship or what this award is or what this honor is can get an idea of what it is. You can talk about the languages you have, and then at the very bottom, you have your interests. So these are like pages that you follow and things like that. So that is a general LinkedIn page. Oh, I did want to show you all how to alter your URL because I find that very important. So if you go to, let's see, how do you edit your profile? Oh, there we go. Edit public profile and URL here at the very top. If you click on that, it sends you to a like a different kind of thing here, and it shows you your LinkedIn page from a person who is not connected with you, which I think is pretty cool. So for example, I have some reasons why I need to keep my identity somewhat private online, so I don't have a picture for people who aren't connected with me. And then you can see what they can and can't. So you can choose which areas you do have publicly available and which ones you don't. I find that useful. But then the part that I did want to show you was the edit your custom URL. So if you click on here, you get to choose what you want in this box here. And you can make that your name, I'd recommend, or some version of your name. And I find that to be quite nice. So yeah, that is what I had for the LinkedIn workshop. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in chat. Feel free to unmute. I think that's all I had. Richard, do you have anything else you would like to comment on?
I think your LinkedIn profile is really good. Way better than mine. Mine looks empty compared to yours. So definitely I learned a lot from you today as well. But if anything, please just create a LinkedIn if you don't have one right now. That's the biggest takeaway for me. If you don't have one, create a LinkedIn and just start adding people and stay connected. Remember, if you learn anything from me, networking is key. Networking will find you jobs. Networking will get your promotions. Networking will get you very far in life.
Definitely.
This is something I always say at the end is if you guys have resumes that you guys want me to take a look at, I always just like to give some inputs or advice on resumes. So if you want me to take a look at it, please feel free to just send it to me and I'll just take a look at it, just give some input on it.
That's awesome. And same for me, if you want to send it to me before you send it to Richard, that's also an option. So you have lots of people here who can review your resume. We all want you to succeed in the professional realm and everything. So please use us as resources. All right, if no one has any questions about LinkedIn, of course, feel free to reach out to me directly afterwards if you would like to talk more about it, if you would like me to go over yours, if you'd like me to help you build yours, anything like that, feel free to let me know and I'd be happy to help. Other than that, Reyes, would you like to close us out?
Yeah. So we have a few upcoming events. This week 7, we have a Panda Express fundraiser. We also have a Python workshop. Python's kind of like for Arduino, so that's pretty good if you still haven't taken MA 170. We have a mini golf social on Friday. And for week 8, we have a family event and a negotiation workshop with Thermo Fisher. And week 9, we have an Arduino workshop with 2 orgs. So yeah, thank you for coming. And if you still haven't signed in, sign in using the QR code or that link and connect with AIChE.
Yes,
Thank
stay
you, guys.
connected with us. We also have AIChE also has a LinkedIn page, so if you want to follow us, feel free to. And yeah, so that's all we had. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Richard, so much for coming. Really appreciated your in-person session and your advice on LinkedIn. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And thank you guys. Remember, stay connected. If you guys are interested, just reach out to me anytime.
Fantastic. So yeah, if anyone's interested in working at Eli Lilly or just product stuff in general, Rich is your guy. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you for coming.